Now the 5AA forecast. Cloudy today with a top of 16 after a low of 7. Mostly sunny tomorrow, 21. A few showers Saturday, 18. A possible shower Sunday, 17. Then a possible shower Monday, 18. And late rain and 20 on Tuesday. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Peter Godfrey on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Good morning, 5 minutes past 5, 8 degrees current temperature. Let's take a look at what's happening across the ditch in New Zealand and catch up with Selwyn Manning, editor of EveningReport.nz. How are you, Selwyn?
Yeah, very good, Peter. The weather up here is certainly starting to turn toward the spring again. So we're trying to keep our hopes up there that it'll continue on. There's been a lot of grey and overcast leading up to today throughout this week, but still, forecasts have been pretty accurate in that highs around 18 degrees Celsius, lows overnight of about 11. At the moment, Peter, it's over on this side of the world, it's 7:36 a.m. and it's 12.8 degrees. So, cool, but not too bad.
And I think today is the spring equinox, so hopefully things will become more spring-like soon, although our forecast isn't showing it at the moment.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but I notice around the equinox, almost every year, another big kind of, it's almost like this stormy gales come through around this kind of, couple of weeks each side of it. So we're kind of always looking out the window and thinking, what's happening with those clouds, and kind of find myself doing it exactly right now at the moment. But, once again, like we said a couple of weeks ago, Peter, there's good spring flowers in the garden. The buds have all burst now, and there's promise of warmer days to come.
Let's hope. Let's get on to, let's a quick round up of some of your headlines. What's making news over your part of your part of the world?
Yeah, in the New Zealand Herald, they're leading, this is online, newzealandherald.co.nz, it's leading with quite a bizarre story, Peter. It's about parents who have been convicted of basically abusing their young girl because they thought she was a witch.
Oh, good grief. And
the abuse that went on is quite awful. They're a Congolese refugee family that are here, so one would assume have, the deep beliefs and, different ways of spirituality and things, I suppose. But what this included here was forcing the child to take freezing baths, hitting her, cutting her hair. The abuse goes on, Peter. But that's a very strange story. You don't often see that kind of thing in this part of the world, do we? And,
no.
That's leading the New Zealand Herald at the moment. It's also got a story there that is a very important story for New Zealand and probably has undertones in Australia as well, and it's headlined "The Dark Underbelly of Human Trafficking." Now, this follows, Peter, the first conviction in New Zealand of human trafficking, and it involved a man from Fiji and the victims, of course, being sourced from Fiji as well and being forced into unpaid labour and all sorts of other things here in New Zealand. So this is where the New Zealand Herald has been following up on that. It's a very good article and very good to see some investigation in that way going on. Yeah. Over at Fairfax on the Stuff website, Peter, is stuff.co.nz. And there's a little bit softer here. It's going on about generous family lost, and it's talking about the man who was the lead celloist in the Brisbane Symphony Orchestra, and he and his family, two of his stepsons and himself, were killed in a motor vehicle accident in the New Zealand Waikato on the first day of their holiday. They just arrived here, Peter, got a rental car at Auckland International Airport, and were heading south on a couple of weeks' holiday, and were killed on a car accident at a place called Huntly, where the road in Waikato, it's always a cautious one, and when you hear of things going on there, it's always sad wherever it is, but also for Kiwis, we're well aware that Waikato strip there is not too good. Yeah. So that's a very sad story there that they've honed in on. Also other things about the Paralympians, they return, the New Zealand ones, no doubt. You've got your Australian Paralympians coming back as well. Yep. And we're celebrating there in particular Sophie Pascoe, who has been a fantastic athlete in the pool and comes back with a whole heap of medals, including a big pocket full of gold medals, Peter. She is one superstar of a woman there. If we go across to Radio New Zealand, we've got MPI, that's the Ministry of Primary Industries. And as Radio New Zealand has been pushing through this week with its investigation and broadcasting its investigation with direct live online and on radio interviews with heads and also the ministers of this particular area. And it's all about fish dumping. The New Zealand fishing regime kind of works on a quota, meaning that they can only fish and take a certain number of fish on a particular type of species. And what has happened with that is, it was intended when it came in decades ago to actually make our fishing stocks better, in a sense, to stop widespread fishing of other fish that, would be replenishing the stock, small or out of that specific kind of type of fish that they're after. Well, widespread dumping has been taking place ever since, and really it's been a reverse kind of effect in depleting New Zealand's fishing stocks around our coastlines, as opposed to accentuating it. And so that Radio New Zealand's been getting right in on that one, and where that's going, areas of accountability are being exposed, and also significant prosecutions that the ministry has not followed through on. For what reason, they have not yet satisfied anybody by their explanation. So it's one to watch there. May have parallels overseas as well, with overseas fishing interests as well. The other thing that Radio New Zealand is going fairly big on is John Key, and we can talk about that a little bit longer, Peter. He's had his time in the sun, or some are saying in the sunset, over at the United Nations this week, chairing the Security Council and also speaking to the General Assembly. But we can talk about that later, Peter.
Yep, well, we could perhaps go on to it now, shall we, in fact?
Let's do that.
Yeah, so his day his day in the sunset. Now, that's an interesting phrase. Why his day in the sunset?
Yes, it may be me being a bit unkind to our wonderful Prime Minister, but what I'm getting at there is John Key, he's got quite a posse of mainstream journalists over there, and they're all getting stuck into international relations, and good for them for doing that. But John Key, he has had a big moment because New Zealand's on the United Nations Security Council, and he has chaired the United Nations Security Council at a time where both the United States and the Russian Federation are at loggerheads over the broken ceasefire in Syria. And John Key, the expectation was that as chair, he would help marshal or shepherd along towards some sort of common ground and consensus to get peace back on the table. Now, that's been his big challenge. He certainly was talking that up prior to this meeting. And, of course, these are big powers that really John Key, he's chairing the meeting. He's not going to solve it. So it's a little bit of the sunset mention there, Peter, is also relating to him speaking to the United Nations General Assembly in his slot, as Barry Soper, a very veteran journalist here in New Zealand, wrote, with New Zealand being a blip at the bottom of the world, it was unsurprising that John Key's place and position in speaking in the allocated time that he was given to speak at the United Nations General Assembly was basically right at the end when everyone had gone. So it raises the picture of our poor old John Key standing there with quite a powerful speech, no doubt, crafted for him by New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and having hardly an audience to actually pitch it at. Having said that, he's been pushing the envelope as far as trying to get New Zealand's former Prime Minister and his former opponent, Helen Clark, to get her stakes a bit higher in the race as a contender for the United Nations Secretary General that is coming up later this year, and certainly the juxtapositions of all of those candidates for that position to replace Ban Ki-moon is underway right as we speak.
Okay. So is it, seen that he could be helpful to a campaign by sort of spruiking her while he's there?
Well, you can't criticise the man for a lack of trying.
Yeah.
What has impressed people, the Vice President of the United States visited here only a matter of about a month ago, just like he did with Australia, Vice President Binden, and he referred to John Key as being very keen and that the United States was listening to his positive views on what Helen Clark's contribution could be. The trouble with the candidacy for Helen Clark in the United Nations Secretary-General position is one like we spoke of many months ago, Peter, where the Russian Federation's preferences is to have a person that comes from the eastern side of Europe. Helen Clark obviously comes from a more independent Pacific Island state, so it's a long way away from the geopolitical interests of that region. So that's a big one. The United Nations Security Council really gives the nomination to the General Assembly. There's all the bureaucratic kind of things to go through there, but it basically is supposed to come out with a consensus and gives a nod. Helen Clark has always been out of the top 5 choices that have come out of information that has been leaked regularly from the Security Council on their preferences. The United States, we're not quite sure where exactly it is kind of trying to push for. China, it perhaps could be in Helen Clark's camp, but it looks like her strongest chance for this position is one of a compromise candidate where all the preferences of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council don't all share the same person, they don't want the same person, and they wheedle it down to one where they can all agree on, and that's where her chance lies. With John Key, yes, he's been really selling her credentials and also, this independent broker and kind of stance that New Zealand can often play in such positions, but also that Helen Clark, having been the UNDP, or the Development Program Administrator for some years now, is determined to get some reform at the United Nations, to give it some teeth, and also to reform the Security Council around that permanent member and temporary member kind of area, Peter. So interesting times.
Indeed. So we'll just have a quick break. We'll be right back with you in a moment with more. Selwyn Manning we're talking to, editor of EveningReport.nz.
5AA Breakfast.
Greyhound Racing SA will today be releasing all of the key data around euthanasing of dogs. The key statistic goes to the number of dogs that are being euthanased each year. In 2016-17, 310 dogs will be put down. Another 15 will die from racing injuries.
5AA Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on 1395. Adelaide's 5AA.
One of my favourite things in the world, TJMing. It's up there with AFL. And just like playing against the greats, TJMing takes you to places you've never been before. But first, you got to set yourself up right. TJM gear is designed and engineered in Australia for our harsh conditions and is tested by the legends of four-wheel drive. Before you head anywhere this season, head into TJM. Get your gear checked or get TJM equipped. Clovelly Park and Nailsworth.
I'm a new digital radio, and this is your old radio.
I don't miss a beat.
No, but you are missing up to 30 extra radio stations.
I've got a digital clock.
Yes, doesn't make you a digital radio. You need things like a screen displaying the song and artist, live news and weather updates, Bluetooth, and awesome digital sound quality.
I've got an alarm.
Still not digital.
Damn it.
Check out over 200 digital radios starting from just $29 at digitalradioplus.com.au, or head into your nearest retailer and upgrade to digital.
Heard that.
Have you made plans for family lunch or dinner? You should try the Maid of Auckland. Family owned with traditional pub values and great service. The Maid of Auckland is perfect for the whole family, with kids' activities that they can enjoy at your table. And great menu selections at an affordable price. Plus on Mondays, kids eat free. The perfect place for your next family lunch or dinner. The Maid of Auckland, South Road, Edwardstown.
Want to get your garden looking its best? Look for Brunnings garden products. Because with 160 years of history, no one beats Brunnings for value.
Especially when it comes to a greener lawn. Just toss on some Brunnings Green Up and it'll green up any lawn in 7 to 10 days.
Brunnings Green Up, part of the Brunnings lawn care range. At all good garden centres and hardware stores. Brunnings garden products, proudly South Australian owned.
The 60-Second Mentor, thanks to Vero Business Insurance, the experts in protecting your success. This week, serial entrepreneur Heidi Armstrong.
One of the real core lessons for me was to not be scared about asking for business. That is the cornerstone of any business. Realising you have value, so you want to be able to connect that and not be scared to say, hey, let's get a deal done. Another key to business success is know your elevator pitch. How do you describe succinctly what your unique selling proposition is is. If you don't know it, you've got no chance.
Hear this in full at 60secondmentor.com.au and find out how to win a $20,000 business grant thanks to Vero Insurance. Insurer is Vero Insurance. First, consider the PDS to see if it's right for you. Ask your broker for a copy.
Peter Godfrey, talking Adelaide on 1395 5AA.
And we're taking a look at what's happening across the ditch. Selwyn Manning, editor of EveningReport.nz, with us. Now, Selwyn, let's get on to sport. Which I guess in New Zealand terms means rugby, which means the All Blacks.
It does, Peter. There's not much else at times, is there? You have to suffer this off and on, quite often, more often than on. But for those who feel starved of rugby news, you've got to say the New Zealand Herald or nzherald.co.nz, its sport rugby section is absolutely fantastic as far as the coverage. It's, well, what can you say? But anyway, congratulations to you guys first off, Peter, for last weekend's match. 36-20, you guys won against Argentina. And Argentina are quite a force these days. So that's a good stretch of the legs for your team over there. Back on this side of the ditch, New Zealand's been celebrating its win against South Africa last weekend. And that was a big win against the Box. That was 41-13. So, Peter, that was basically showing, in the sense that New Zealand All Blacks are well and truly ahead of their Southern Hemisphere kind of opponents, mainly Australia and South Africa. So one of the big calls that has come out of that is, first off, the Rugby Championship has got to conclude yet. I should kind of mention that. And that the fixtures coming up, we've got South Africa versus you guys on Sunday. That's played over in South Africa, so it's an early morning game or midnight kind of period, 1 o'clock in the morning type period. You guys, but that's on Sunday, October the 2nd, of course, this weekend coming. And New Zealand is playing Argentina, the team that you guys beat last week. We're playing them again on Sunday as well. So that'll be an interesting lineup, really. But, the big call coming out of New Zealand this week after these big wins that the All Blacks have had has come from Steve Hansen. He's also known as Shag. That's his nickname, Peter. I think it's referring more to what dangles off the back of a sheep than anything else.
Okay.
He is saying that the Six Nations Championship that's played up in the Northern Hemisphere, notoriously, between England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland and France, fantastic tournament that goes on up there. And he is saying to really get some injection into the Southern Hemisphere rugby competitions like our National Rugby Championships, we need to be able to play the winner of the Six Nations in the Northern Hemisphere needs to play the winner of our Southern Hemisphere competitions every year. It's got to be an annual event. That would certainly, it's not a World Cup, but certainly getting the North to play the South, that would really spur it on. It would inject a lot of enthusiasm. No guesses here too that it would inject a lot of investment with it being professional sport, and certainly get rugby up there as far as something to watch again, because he's well aware that if the All Blacks are ahead of the game here, and we're looking to see when we're going to play England and the Lions and all of that kind of thing. We'll play England in 2018, we'll play Lions next year in 2017. That will be the test on whether or not the All Blacks have kind of taken off to another level and left others behind, or whether or not it's that the South Africa and the Australian Wallaby team are just not keeping up to the pace. Yeah. So that'll be the true test, but it's too far away, and he knows that no one enjoys going to a game where everyone thinks one side's going to win.
Yeah.
So he's got to have competition there.
So is sort of his rationale for this that the All Blacks are a bit too good for the other Southern Hemisphere teams and need more of a challenge?
What surprised the coach here, Steve Hansen, or Shag as he's also known as, is that he didn't expect this new All Black team to come up to the mark to another stage above what the last team was that won the World Cup.
Okay.
There are things to improve on, but it's really just fine tuning. And these guys under the new coach, under the new captain Reid. they're just taking off. We can see that in the results. It's also, the All Blacks are notorious for having the legs at the end of a game, the fitness thing, and all of our athletes, like you guys, with your fantastic athletes and your Aussie Rules, as we call it, this side of the ditch. They know too that you've got to have fitness right to the end of when the final whistle blows, and that was something that the All Blacks put their stamp on that last 20 minutes or so in the game. In the second half, they were able to run rings around a lot of their opponents who were very, very tired by that stage. But what we're seeing now is dominance coming in their first half as well, where it was often very even in the past. So, I'm not trying to crow here, but it's just an interesting kind of thing here, and it's certainly one where I think Hansen and the All Blacks are looking to think, okay, what is going to actually help all of this kind of Southern Hemisphere rugby to get ahead and to get back into alignment to dominate the sport globally. And he believes getting this kind of competition going between the winner of the North and the winner of the South, and then that will be, something to behold. It'll be good just from a sport point of view.
Yeah. So he's sort of putting this up as an idea. Any reaction from those Northern Hemisphere teams?
Well, yeah, what these guys are like. They often will put the idea out there after it's been tested and things, and it certainly seems like there's some nods and a wink going on, and from the North as well, and they're pretty keen as well.
Okay.
Also, it's like in sporting times, Peter, someone comes up with an idea like this, it's like a challenge, and if they back down on the idea, well then, it looks like they're, backing down. So let's hope it does happen, let's hope it happens soon, and it'll make it all more interesting for all of us.
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely. All right, Selwyn, many thanks for joining us on the program this morning. You have yourself a great week, and we will talk again next week, and hopefully we'll be well into spring, and we'll have some warmer weather too.
That will certainly be welcome. I think you guys might take off into the warmer the temperatures before us, but it's coming.
It's coming, indeed. All the best, Selwyn. Catch you next week.
All right, Peter.
Bye-bye. Selwyn Manning in New Zealand, editor of EveningReport.nz. Time is 27 minutes past 5 and Stone in a moment with all the latest 5AA news, sport and weather. And then more of your calls. Give us a call, 822 300 00.
The Main Street SA Awards will highlight South Australia's most popular Main Street in the city, suburbs and country regions. Head online now at mainstreetsa.com.au to register your vote in the People's Choice Awards. Councils, business associations and trader groups can also enter 8 award categories to recognise marketing, events and streetscape. Voting in the People's Choice Award closes on September 30, so act now and your local Main Street could be a winner. The 2016 Main Street SA Awards, proudly supported by 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Hello. The all-new National Tiles online store is now open. Yes, buy National Tiles now on your smartphone, tablet or PC 24/7 at the all-new nationaltiles.com.au. Hundreds of images of beautifully tiled rooms to inspire you at your fingertips at nationaltiles.com.au. From a sample to an entire house lot, nationaltiles.com.au is the smartest way to buy wall and floor tiles in Australia. Go to nationaltiles.com.au now.
The wait is over. Nordic Honda invites you to preview the exciting new Honda NSX at Adelaide's only premier Honda NSX dealer. The NSX represents the ultimate combination in power, sportiness and efficiency. The NSX puts the driver first in every aspect of its design. So experience this exciting new NSX up close. Exclusive to Nordic Honda, Adelaide's only premier Honda NSX dealer at Nordic Honda, top of Glen Osmond Road.
Nordic Honda.
Nordic Honda.
I have not partaken in a tour of the Parthenon. I do not do the Zorba dance. Well, but I can cook up a gyros. I am the master of the garlic sauce. Give me any of the new KR Castlemaine flavours of the world and get ready to say yassoo to 100% yum.
The search for yum is over. KR Castlemaine new Flavours of the World range with 100% Australian pork, now in independent supermarkets. I need a filter for my motor.
Auto Pro.
Have you got a disc brake rider?
Auto Pro. We've got seat covers, tools and clamps, gaskets, oils, mats and ramps. 4 great prices with a chance. Auto Pro.
I'd like a fancy new sunshade.
Auto Pro.
I'll grab a set of wiper blades.
Auto Pro.
I want a brand new regulator, an electric alternator, and can you fix my radiator?
Auto Pro.
Call 132 776 for your nearest dealer.
Auto Pro.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Cloudy and 16 today. It's 5:30. I'm Anne Stone. Star Force Police are negotiating with a man who's holed up in a Plimpton Park motel room. The siege began at about 2:30 this morning at the Marion Motel and Apartments when a man began smashing windows, making threats and throwing objects at police. Other hotel guests have been evacuated as the standoff continues. And a woman's in a serious condition in hospital after being stabbed at Elizabeth East overnight. Police say it was a domestic incident. The woman suffered serious injuries in the attack at the home on Halsey Road just before midnight. She's been taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital. The Tea Tree Gully Mayor has sent his condolences to a council worker's family after he was killed on the job at Grenwith. The